Be'ezras Hashem Isbarech, we are continuing in the Rambam's dividing of the 613 mitzvahs into his 14 Svarim. We are currently up to the 10th book of the Rambam, Sefer Tahara, and we will continue with the mitzvahs. Hilchaisav Shmoina V'Zahu Siduran. There are 8 subcategories in the book of Tahara, and here is the orders. Number 1, Hilchis Tumas Meis, the halachas pertaining to impurity from a dead body. Hilchis Para Aduma, the laws of the purification through the red heifer. Hilchis Tumas Tzaras, the laws of impurity regarding leprosy. Hilchis Metame Mishkav Umayshav, the laws of the impurity of places where one sits or lies. Hilchis Sha'ar Aves Hatuma, other laws regarding impurity. Hilchis Tumas Acholim, the laws of ritual impurity from foods. Hilchis Kalim, the laws of ritual impurity by vessels. And Hilchis Mikva'is, the laws of mikvahs, starting from Number 1, Hilchas Tumas Meis. Mitzvos asay achas v'hi din Tumas Meis. There is one positive commandment, and that is the laws pertaining to the impurity of a corpse. Moving on, Hilchas Para Aduma, the laws of the red heifer. Yesh bichlal shtei mitzvos asay. There are 2 positive commandments. Rishayna, din Para Aduma. Shnia is din Tumas Mei nida v'tarasan, the laws of the red heifer. And number 2, the laws involving the ritual purity and purity imparted by the water that is sprinkled together with the ashes of the red heifer. Moving on, Hilchas Tumas Tzaras. Yesh bichlalan shmeina mitzvahs, shesh mitzvahs asay, ushtei mitzvahs leisa asay, v'zahu peraton. The laws of a leper, there are a total of 8 mitzvahs, 6 positive and 2 negative, and here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1, lahayres b'tzaras adam kedina hakasav b'atayra. 2, render judgment concerning leprosy in humans as prescribed by the Torah. Beis, shalai yakait simane tumah, not to cut off the signs of leprosy. Gimel 3, shalai yigaleach hanetek, not to shave a bald spot. 4, dalid, shiehei hamitzayra, muforsam, bekrias begadav, uferias roishai, va'atiyah al safam. That the leper should be made known his state of impurity by wearing torn clothing, letting his hair grow long, and covering his head. 5, hey, toharas tzaras, the purification process for a leper. 6, vav, shigaleach hamitzayra es kol sa'arei, keshi yitar, for a leper to shave all of his hair as part of the purification process. 7, zayin, din tzaras habeged, the laws of leprosy that are on clothing. And ches 8, din tzaras habayis, the laws of leprosy on a house. Moving on, hilchis metame mishkav umayshav, the laws of impurity regarding someone who sits and lies down. Yesh bechlalan arba mitzvos asay, there are 4 positive commandments. Bezahu pratan, here are their specifics. Aleph, number 1, din tumas nida, the laws regarding one in a impurity of nida state. 2, beis, din tumas yeledes, a woman after childbirth and the impurity that comes with it. Gimel 3, din tumas zava, the laws that come from a woman who has an unnatural ejection. And dalid 4, din tumas zav, the laws of impurity regarding to a man who has an unnatural seminal ejaculation. Moving on, hilchas shar aves hatuma, the other impurities. Yesh bechlolon shalish mitzvos asay, there are a total of 3 positive commandments. Zahu pratan, here are their specifics. Aleph, number 1, din tumas nevela, the laws of impurity imparted by an animal carcass. B, beis, number 2, din tumas sheretz, the laws of impurity imparted by a dead creepy crawly. Gimel 3, din tumas shikvas zera, the laws of impurity imparted by human semen. Va'avodah zara mit'ama kesheretz v'tu'masa midivrei sefer. And the Rambam adds that idol worship, their gods and accessories also impart impurity like creepy crawly, but this is of rabbinic origin. Moving on, hilchas tumas acholim, the laws of impurity with regard to food. Mitzvos asay achas, it's 1 positive commandment. V'hi din tumas mashkin v'acholin v'achsheron, the laws of impurity contacted by liquids and foods, and how it's possible for them to regain purity again. Moving on, Hilchas Kalim, the laws of impurity with regard to vessels. Inyan elu ha'halachis, leida kalim shemekablin, tuma mikol elu ha'tameis, v'chelim she'enon mistam in, v'ketzad mistamin, ha'kalim u'mitamin. The intent of these laws is to know which of your vessels contacted impurity from all the above mentioned, and which of them now can impart impurity. But that's it, no mitzvahs. Moving on, Hilchas Mikvos, the laws of the mikvah. Mitzvahs asay achas v'hi sheyitbo kol tamei b'mei mikvah v'achar kach yitar. There is 1 positive commandment, and that is for one who contacted impurity to go and immerse himself in the mikvah and become pure. Nimtzu kol mitzvahs hanichlolos b'sefer zeh esim. There is a total of 20 mitzvahs in this book. Mehem shmeina esrei mitzvahs asay ushtei mitzvahs leis asay. A total of 18 positive commandments and 2 negative commandments. Moving on to Yud Aleph, the 11th book, Sefer Nizakin, the laws of damages. Hilchaisav chamesh v'zehu siduran. There are 5 subcategories, and here are the specifics. Hilchais nizike mamin, the laws of damages of property. Hilchis Geneva, the laws of theft. Hilchas Gezela, the laws of robbery. V'aveda, and the returning of lost objects. Hilchas Chayvel Mazik, the laws of personal injury and damages, and Hilchas Neitzeach Ushmiras Nefesh, and the laws of murder and the protection of life, going from Hilchas Nizikei Mammon, the laws of damages of property. Yesh B'chlol and Arba Mitzvos Aseh, V'zahu Sidaron. There are a total of 4 positive commandments, and here are the specifics. Din Hashar, the laws of damages caused by an ox. Beis, Din Hahever, the laws of damages caused by the grazing of an animal. Gimel, Din Habar, the laws pertaining to the damages of a pit. Dalid, 4, Din Abeda, the laws of damages caused by a fire. Moving on, Hilchas Geneva, the laws of theft. Yesh Bichlolon Shava Mitzvos. There are 7 mitzvahs. Shtei mitzvahs asik, 2 positive commandments. Chamish mitzvahs leis asik, and 5 negative commandments. Zehu pratan. Here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1, Shalai Lignaiv Mammon, not to steal money. Beis, Din Haganiv, the laws of the punishment of a thief. Gimel, 3, Litzadek Hamiznayim Im Hamishkolis, to have proper scales and weights. Dalid, 4, Shalayasa Ovel Bamidois U Bamishkolis, not to deal improperly with weights and measures. 5, Hey Shalayia Lo Adam Even V'Even Efa V'Efa Afal Pi She'enu Leikeach V'Noisa Bahem, for a person not to possess these type of incorrect weights and measures, even if he doesn't use them for a purchase or a sale. 6, Vav Shalai Yasig Gvul, for one not to alter someone's property. And 7, Zayin Shalai Lignaiv Nefashis, not to kidnap. Moving on, Hilchas Gezela Aveda, the laws of robbery and the returning of lost objects. Yesh Bichlolon Sheva Mitzvahs, there are 7 commandments. Shtei mitzvahs aseh, v'chamish mitzvahs leis aseh, 2 positive and 5 negative. V'zahu prata, here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1, Shalai Ligzal, not to rob. Beis, 2, Shalai La'ashik, not to wrong a colleague by withholding what is due to him. 3, Gimel, Shalai Lachmoid, not to covet. Dalit, 4, Shalai Lis Aves, not to desire. 5, Hey, Lahashiv Asakzela, to return a stolen object. 6, Vav, Shalai Is Alim Min Ha'aveda, not to ignore a lost object. And 7, Zayin, Lahashiv Ha'aveda, to return a lost object. Moving on, Hilchis Chayvel Umazik, the laws of injury and damages by a human. Mitzvos asay achas v'hidin chayvel b'chaveroi mazik mamin chaveroi. There's one positive commandment, and that is the laws governing injury which one person causes to another, and damages which one person causes to another colleague's property. Moving on, Hilchos Reitzeach Ushmiras Nefesh, the laws of murder and the protection of life. Yesh Bechlolon Shva Esrei Mitzvahs, there are 17 commandments. Sheva Mitzvahs Asay, 7 positive commandments. Ve'eser Mitzvahs Leis Asay, and 10 negative commandments. V'zehu Pratan, and here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1, Shaloi Lirtzayach, not to commit murder. Beis, 2, Shaloi Likach Koifer Lenefesh Reitzeach, not to take a ransom for the life of a murderer. 3, Gimel Lahagalois Hareitzeach Bishgaga, to exile one who kills by mistake. Dalit, 4, Shalei Likach Koifer Lemechuyav Golos, not to take ransom for a person who is sentenced to that exile. Hey, number 5, Shalei Yumas Hareitzeach Kishiyirtzach Koidem Amida Badin, not to kill a murderer before giving him a fair trial. Vav, 6, Lahatzil Hanirdov Benafshe Shal Redef, to save one who's being pursued, even if it comes at the expense of the chaser. 7, Zayin Shalei Lochis Al Haredef, not to show mercy to a pursuer. 8, Ches Shalei Amed Al Dam, not to neglect a person who is in mortal danger. Test 9, Lahafrish Are Miklat Ulechavein Lohem Haderech, to set aside cities of refuge and to prepare the road for them. 10, Yud La'aref Es Va'egla Benachal, to decapitate a calf in the river, which is an atonement for someone who was killed without it's an unsolved murder. 11, Yud Aleph Shloi Ye'oved Ba'isa Karka V'loi Sizora, not to till or sow the land where this was made. 12, Yud Beis Shaloi Losim Damim, not to create a dangerous situation. Yud Gimel 13, Lases Ma'aka, to put up a guardrail on your roof. Yud Dalet 14, Shaloi Yachshil Tamim Bidavar, not to cause a innocent person to make an error. 15, Tazvav Lifraik Im Mi Shenichshal Badarech, to help unload a person and his animal on the road. 16, Tazayin Litoin Imai, to help him reload it. Yodzayin 17, Shaloi Yanichenu Badarech Nivol Bimasoi Vayelch Loi, not to leave him in his distraught with his burden on the road. And therefore we see Nimtu Kol HaMitzvahs and Echlolos B'Sefer Zeh Sheishu Shloishim Ve'en Sheish Esrei Mitzvahs Aseh Esrei Mitzvahs Leis Aseh. Total, there's a total of 36 mitzvahs, 16 positive and 20 negative. Sefer Yud Beis Sefer Kinyan, the 12th of the books, the book of acquisition. Hilchos of Chamesh V'Zahu Siduran. There are 5 subcategories, and here are the order. Hilchos Mechira, the laws of sales. Hilchos Zechia Umatana, the laws of acquisitions and property and presents. Hilchos Shchenim, the laws of neighbors. Hilchis Shiluchim Ushutfin, the laws of agents and partners, and Hilchis Avadim, the laws of slaves. Hilchis Mechira, the laws of sale. Yesh b'chol chamish mitzvos. There are 5 mitzvos. Achas mitzvos asay v'arba mitzvos leis asay. 1 positive and 4 negative. Zahu pratan. Here are the specifics. Aleph. Number 1. Din mekach umimkar. The laws of sales and purchases. Base 2. Shaloi yoina b'mekach umimkar. Not number 2. Not to cheat at calling a business. Number 3. Gimel. Shaloi yoina b'dvarim. Not to have these wrong someone with words. Dalid 4. Shaloi yoina ger tzedek b'mayna. Not to wrong a convert with money. Hey. Shaloi yoinehu b'dvarim. Not to wrong him with words. Okay, moving on. Hilches, Zechiya, Matana, the laws of acquisitions of property and presents. Inyan, Elu, Ha'alachas, Leida, Din Zecha, Min Hafker, Ha'ich, Yikna, Uvema Yikna, Vidin Noisa Matano, Makabel, Ve'eze Matano Chezeres, Ve'eze Eno Chezeres. The intent of these laws is to know how one acquires property that is ownerless and what legal acts are involved. The laws governing the giving and receiving of a present, which present requires a binding commitment and which one does not, and which one needs to be returned and which one does not need to be returned. Moving on, Hilchas Shchenim, the laws of neighbors. Inyan Elu halachas leidad in chiluk hakarkois ben hashutfin v'harchokas nezike kol echad mehem mishchenoi umibal hametzer shaloi v'din bal hametzer. The laws of the neighbors are intended to show how land is divided between partners, the measures each must take to prevent damage to the other and their neighbors, and the laws governing a person's right to purchase property sold by his neighbor. Moving on. Hilchis Shluchin V'Shutfin, the laws of agents and partners. Inyan Elu Ha'lachas Leidadin Sheluchei Shel Adam V'Shutfai Umishpeteihen B'Mikchan Umimikaran Uvehaf Seidon Usecharan. The intent of these laws is to know the laws governing the activities of a personal agent, the laws governing partners and their applications with regard to purchases, sales, losses, and profits. Moving on, Hilchis Avodim, the laws of slaves. Yesh b'chlolan shalish asrei mitzvos. There's a total of 13 mitzvos. Chamish mitzvos asay, u'shmeina mitzvos leis asay. 5 positive and 8 negative. V'zahu pratan. Here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1. Din kinyan eved ivri, the laws governing the purchase of a Hebrew slave. Beis, number 2. Shaloi imacher mim keres eved, not to that a slave should not be sold. This type of slave should not be sold in the way that a non-Jewish slave should be sold. Gimel 3. Shaloi ya'avidenu beferach, not to give him very hard work. Dalet 4. Shaloi naniach ger toshav lirdais boy beferach, not to allow a ger to make him perform rigorous work. Hey, 5. Shaloi na'avid boy avidas eved, not to give him the same task that you would give a slave. Vav 6. Laha'anik loy betzeisai chavshi, to give him a very special separation gift when he is put free. Zayin 7, Shalai Yetze, Rekam, that he should not leave empty-handed. Ches 8, Liftais, Amma, Ivria, to redeem a Hebrew maidservant. 9, Tes, Liada, to designate her as a bride. 10, Yud, Shalai Timacher, not to sell her. Yud Aleph 11, La'avid, Be'evid Kanani Lo'ilam, Ella Im Hifel Loi Adoinov, Echad, Me Roshe Evarov, to have a slave, a Kanani slave, work forever unless his master destroys one of his primary limbs. 12, Yud Beis, Shaloi, Lahaskir, Eved, Shebarach, Mechutz La'aretz, La'aretz Yisrael, not to return a slave who fled from the diaspora to Eretz Yisrael. And 13, Yud Gimel, Shaloi, Lahaines, Eved Zeh, Hanitzol, Elenu, not to oppress this slave who has fled to us. Nimtzu kol mitzvos hanechlolos b'sefer zeh shmeina esrei sheish mitzvos asay u'shtayim esrei mitzvos lois asay. A total in this book of 18 mitzvos, 6 positive commandments and 12 negative commandments. Moving on to the 13th book, Yud Gimel Sefer Mishpatim, the laws of judgment. Hilchos of Chamish. There are 5 subcategories as I see on here are the order. Hilchos Sechiros, the laws of employer-employee relations. Hilchos She'ela u'fikadain, the laws of borrowed and entrusted objects. Hilchos Malveh v'Leveh, the laws of lenders and borrowers. Hilchos Tayin v'Nitain, the laws of disputes between plaintiffs and defendants. And Hilchos Nechales, the laws of inheritance. Hilchos Sechiros, Yesh b'cholon shava mitzvahs, shalish mitzvahs asay v'arba mitzvahs leis asay, zeu pratan. In the laws of employer relations, there are a total of 7 mitzvahs, 3 positive and 4 negative. And here are the specifics. Number 1, Aleph, Din, Sachir, V'Shemer, Sachar, the laws of a hired worker and a paid watchman. 2, Beis, Litain, Schar, Sachir, B'Yom, to give the wage of a worker when it is due. Gimel, 3, Shalai Ya'acher, Schar, Sachir, Acher Zmanai, not to delay payment of a worker's wage until after it falls due. Dalet 4, Shi'achel, Hasachir, Min Hamechubar, She'asabai, for a worker to be allowed to eat from the produce that he is working. 5, Hey, Shalai Yoichal, Hasachir, Min Hamechubar, Shalai B'Shas Gmar Malacha, not for a worker not to eat from the land, not during the time that he is working. Vav 6, Shalai Yoilich, Hasachir, B'Yodai, Yoiser, for a worker not to take more than he could hold in his hand. 7 zayin shloi yechasim shar b'dishay v'chein shar habehema. Not to muzzle an ox or any other animal while it's treading grain. Moving on to Hilchas She'ela Upikadin, the laws of borrowing and entrusted objects. Yesh Bechlalan Shtei Mitzvos, there are 2 positive commandments. Rishayna Din Hashayel, the laws of a borrower, and Shniya Din Shemer Chinam, the laws of a unpaid watchman. Moving on to Hilchas Malvev Leva, the laws of lending and borrowing. Yesh Bechlalan Shtei Esrei Mitzvos, there are a total of 12 mitzvahs. Arba mitzvahs asay, 4 positive. Ushmeina mitzvahs leis asay, and 8 negative. Zahu Pratan, here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1. Lahalvois La'ani Vamach, to lend money to a poor and unfortunate person. Bays 2, shlai yigais oisai, not to demand the repayment of his loan. 3 gimel lin goish as anachri, to demand payment of a Gentile's loan. 4 dalid shalai yimashkein bal chayv biz rayai, not to forcibly take a security from a debtor. 5 hey lahachzir hamashken lebalav bizman shehu tzarich lay, to return this security when a person might need it. Vav 6 shalai ya'acher hamashken miba'alav ha'ani be'es shehu tzarich lay, not to delay the returning of a security to a poor debtor when he might need it. 7 zayin shalai yichabel almana, not to take a security from a woman. 8 ches shalai yichabel kelim she'oisim bahen oichel nefesh, not to take vessels as a security that people use to eat food. Test 9 shalai yitain hamalve beribis, not to give a loan with interest. Yud Aleph 11 shalai asik adam bein malve v'loy v'beribes loy ya'id beinehem v'loy yichtov shtar v'loy ya'ariv, for a person not to assist in any way with a lender or borrower who's using interest, not to act as a witness, a guarantor, or not even to compose the contract of a loan. 12 Yud Beis lilvais min hanachri ulahalvasai beribes, to borrow from a Gentile and to lend to him with ribis, with interest. Moving on, Hilchas tayin v'nitan, the laws of disputes between plaintiffs and defendants. Mitzvos asay achas, it's 1 positive commandment. Din tayin umayda oy kaifer, the laws of claims, either when one admits to them or denies them. Moving on, Hilchas Nachalos, the laws of inheritance. Mitzvos asay achas v'hidin seder nachalos, there is 1 positive commandment, which is the law governing the order of inheritance. Nimtzu kol mitzvos anachalos v'sefer zeh shalosh esrim mehem achas asrim mitzvos mehem achas esrim mitzvos asay u'shnei esrim mitzvos leis asay. We have a total of 23 mitzvos, 11 positive commandments, and 12 negative commandments. Finally, Sefer Yudalid, the 14th Sefer, Sefer Shoftim, the laws of the Book of Judges. Hilchaisav is Chamesh. There's 5 subcategories. Zeu Siduran, and here are the orders: Hilchas Sanhedrin, Va'anshin Hamisurin Lohem, the Book of the High Court, and the laws of punishments that they have jurisdiction over. Hilchas Eidos, the laws of witnesses. Hilchas Mamrim, the laws of the rebellious ones. Hilchas Evel, the laws of mourning, and Hilchas Malachim Umilchames, and finally the laws of kings and their wars. Starting from Hilchas Sanhedrin Va'anshin Hamisurin Lohem, the laws of the high court and the punishments that they have jurisdiction over. Yesh b'cholon shleishim mitzvahs, esen mitzvahs asay, v'esrim mitzvahs leis asay. There are a total of 30 mitzvahs, 10 positive commandments and 20 negative commandments. V'zahu pratan. Here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1. Lemanes shoftim, to appoint judges. Beis 2. Shalai lemanes dayan she'eno yedea derech hamishpat, not to appoint a judge who doesn't know the proper way of judgment. Gimel 3. Lintais achay nabim im nachluku hashoftim, to follow the majority if there's a difference in opinion. Dalet 4. Shalai lahareg im rabu, not to offer a death sentence if there is only a majority of 1. Rather, there must be a majority of at least 2. Hey, 5. For a person who argued in favor of acquittal in a capital case, not to argue for conviction. 6. To kill by stoning. 7. To kill by burning. 8. To kill by decapitation. 9. To kill by strangulation. Yud. Lislais, to hang the body of the corpse on after they were killed. Yud Aleph. 11. Likbar hanarag b'yom harigase, to bury someone who was executed on the day that he was executed. 12. Yud Beis shalai talin nivlase, not to allow his corpse to be to remain unburied. 13. Yud Gimel shalai lahachyis machashef, not to allow some sort of sorcerer to live. 14. Yud Dalid lahalkais larasha, to whip, to lash someone who sins. Tesvav. 15. Shalai yosef mahakis aleikin, not to add more blows than necessary. Tazayin shalai lahareg naki ba'amudam, not to kill an innocent person based ba'amudan adas, based on a circumstantial evidence. 17. Yud Zayin shalai la'anish oines, not to punish somebody who was forced to commit a sin. Yud Ches. 18. Shalai lachus al hayrei chaverei ay chayvel bay, not to have mercy on somebody who killed his friend or injured him. 19. Yud Tesh shalai l'rachem al adal bedin, not to have mercy on a poor person in judgment. 20. Chaf shaloi lahader gadol bedin, not to honor someone who's a big stature, a man of high stature. Chaf 21. Shaloi lahates hadin al ba'ar averes afal pisha hu chayta, not to pervert judgment against the sinner, even though he's known that he usually transgresses things. Chav Beis 22. Shalei la'avel mishpat, not to act in a deceitful way in judgment. 23. Chav Gimel shalei la'hates mishpat ger yasim, not to pervert the justice of a orphan or a convert. 24. Lishpei b'tzedek, to judge in a righteous way. 25. Chafei shaloi liyir'a badin meish zraya, for a judge not to fear a judgment because the guy who he's judging over is powerful. Chavav 26. Shaloi likach sheichad, not to take a bribe. 27. Shaloi lisa shema shav, not to accept false reports. 28. Shaloi lekalel hadayonim, not to curse the judges. 29. Shaloi lekalel hanasi, not to curse the nasi. 30. Lamed shaloi lekalel adam yishar b'nei Yisrael haksherim, not to curse any other Jew who is mortal. Moving on to Hilchas Eidah Sheish B'chol Shmeina Mitzvos. Shalish mitzvos aseh v'chamish mitzvos leis aseh v'zeu prata. There's a total of 8 mitzvos, 3 positive mitzvos and 5 negative mitzvos. And here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1, laha'id bebeis din l'mish yedei aloi edus, for somebody who knows testimony to testify in court. Base 2, lidreish v'lach kara edim, 2, question and cross-examine these witnesses. Gimel 3, shaloi yoyra ha'ed bedin zeh she'ed Allah bedin edafashis, for a witness not to render a decision in a capital case, which he testified. 4, dalid shaloi yakum davar be'ed esachad, for one witness his testimony not to base a decision based on. 5, hey, shaloi ya'id ba'al aveda, not for a sinner not to act as a witness. Vav 6, shaloi ya'id kareh, for somebody who's a relative not to act as a witness. 7, zayin, shaloi ha'id b'sheker, not to give false testimony. And 8, ches la'ases la'ed zaymam kasher zamam, to give the punishment that the false witness tried to inflict on the defendant to the witness. Moving on, Hilchas Mamre, the laws of the rebellious ones. Yesh b'chol and tesha mitzvos, there's a total of 9 mitzvahs. Shalish mitzvahs aseh v'sheish mitzvahs leis aseh, 3 positive and 6 negative. Zeh pratan, here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1, lases al pi Torah she'ayimnu based in agadol, to follow the instructions given by a high court. Base 2, shaloi laser midivreim, not to deviate from their words. Gimel 3, shaloi lahayis valater, not loy b'mitzvahs shebichsav v'loy b'peirushan shalamadnu mipiashmua, not to add to the words of the Torah, not the written law or the explanations transmitted by the oral law. 4, dalil raya minakol, not to detract from the mitzvahs. 5, hey, shaloi lekalel of aim, not to curse one's father or mother. 6, vav shaloi lahakis of aim, not to strike one's father or mother. Zayin 7, lechabed of aim, to honor one's father and mother. Ches 8, liyira may of aim, to fear one's mother and father. Tas 9, shaloi yah ben seru meira alko aviv imay, for a son not to rebel against his mother and father's commandments. Moving on, Hilchas Avel, the laws of mourning. Yesh b'chol and arba mitzvos, there are a total of 4 mitzvahs. Achas mitzvahs aseh v'shalosh mitzvahs leis aseh, 1 positive and 3 negative. Zahu pratan, here are the specifics. Aleph, number 1, lihis abel al hakrevim, to mourn for one's relatives. Va'afilu kayin mistame umis abel al hakrevim, and even a priest who may not usually become pure must become impure to mourn for his relatives. Ve'ein adam mis abel al haruge based in ulefizeh kalalti halachas elu b'sefer zeh shehed me'ein kvira b'yom misa shehi mitzvos aseh. And now the Rambam adds that a person is not allowed to mourn for those executed by the court. Therefore, he put the laws of Avel in this book, the book of Shaiftim, because they're connected with the burial of a person on the day of his death, which is a positive commandment. Base 2, shaloi yitame kayin gadol lakrevim, for a high priest not to become impure for his relatives. 3, gimel shaloi yikanes im hameis ba'oil, for him not to enter a place where a corpse is lying. Daled 4, and for a regular priest not to become impure for a stam person, a normal person, only for his relatives. Moving on to Hilchis Malachim u Milchamais, to the laws of kings and their wars. Yesh b'chol and shalish ve'eser mitzvahs, there are a total of 23 mitzvahs. Eser mitzvahs aseh, shalish eser mitzvahs leis aseh, a total of 10 positive and 13 negative commandments. Zeu pratan, here the specifics. Aleph, number 1, Lemanes Melech Misrael, to appoint a king over Israel. Base 2, Shaloi Yimane Mikal Gerim, not to appoint a convert as a king. Gimel 3, Shaloi Yarbet Loi Nashim, he shouldn't have so many wives. Daled 4, Shaloi Yarbet Loi Susim, he shouldn't have so many horses. Hey 5, Shaloi Yarbet Loi Kesav Zav, he shouldn't have that much gold and silver. 6, Vav La'acharim Shiva Amim, he should wipe out the 7 nations. Zayin Shaloi Lahachyos Mehen Neshama, he shouldn't allow even one of them to live. Ches 8, Limchais Zarei Shal Amalek, to wipe out the seed of Amalek. Tas 9, Lizkar Masha Asa Amalek, to remember what they did to us. Yud 10, Shalei Lishkayach Maisav Haraim Va'ari Vasei Baderech, not to forget the wicked deeds and their ambushing of the people on the way to our people on the way to Eretz Yisrael. 11, Yud Aleph Shalei Lishkain Beretz Mitzrayim, not to dwell in the lands of Egypt. 12, Yud Beis Lishlayach Shalom Yoshvei Ha'ir Kishetzarim Alea Viladun Bakasher Mefarish Patera, to make an offering of peace to any city which we lay siege, and to carry out the Torah's instructions. Im tashlim v'im loy tashlim, should they pay for the peace or not? 13, Yud Gimel Shaloi Lidrash Shaloi Ma'amoin Umaya Bilvad Kishitzarim Aleim. We shouldn't offer this peace offering to Ammon and Moav when we lay siege to their land. 14 Yodalid Shalai Lahashchis Ilone Ma'achal B'matzah. We shouldn't destroy fruit trees in the process of a siege. 15 Tazvav Lahaskin Yod Shietu by Bale Hamachana Bifanes by to prepare a place outside of the camp for people to go and use the restroom. Tas Zion 16 Lahaskin Yasid Lachbar Bay for a shovel which people could go and cover their excrement. Yud Zayin 17 Limshayach Koyin Ledaber Be'ozne Anshe Atzava B'Shas Melchama, to appoint a priest to speak to the soldiers at the time of battle. 18 Yud Ches Liyos Ma'ares Uvayna Binyan V'Neitea Kerem Smeichim B'Kinyanam Shana Tmima U'Machzirin Oison Min HaMelchama, to allow a person who just got engaged to build a house or plant a vineyard or rejoice for a full year before being sent to the army. 19 Yotesh Shaloi Ya'avur Alein Davar V'Layetzu Afilu Tzarchei Ha'ir V'Tzarchei Agdud V'Daim Lahen, not to call on these people for any public duties, for the needs of the community or the army, etc. 20 Shaloi Ya'aretz V'Lachzer La'achar B'Shas Milchama, not to panic and flee in the middle of a battle. 21 Chaf Aleph Din Ifas Tayar, the laws regarding to the Yeshus Ifas Tayar. 22 Chaf Bei Shaloi Timacher Ifas Tayar, not to sell her Yifas Tayar. 23 Chaf Gimel Shaloi Yich B'Shena La'avdos Achar Sheniv Allah, not to sell her for a slave after having relations with her. It turns out that there are a total of 74 mitzvahs, in this book. A total of 27 positive commandments and 47 negative commandments. That means that there are a total of 83 halachas in these 14 books. And now the Rambam says that he's going to begin to explain the rules governing each and every mitzvah according to the relevant laws that are within them. And in Hashem, we will do that with the help of the Almighty.